Welcome to Sacred Success Salon, where we get to discover how to own your power and confidence so you can live your purpose and do it prosperously. My name is Kowalska. I am your hostess, Soul Purpose Catalyst, and today I am super excited to have an amazing conversation, super juicy and creative. I know it will be, with Alexis Cohen. Welcome, Alexis.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here with you.
Yeah, thank you. So let me just take a minute to introduce you to our audience so they know who you are and how amazing you are. So Alexis Cohen is a visionary artist, which already makes me excited. She is a creative empowerment mentor, shamanic practitioner, and she helps her clients heal and strengthen their connection to their power and intuition so they can bring their creative work to life. Creatives are stepping up in a new and powerful way. And Alexis is passionate about supporting this new rising tides of artists, healers, visionaries, entrepreneurs, and innovators, which we just spoke about, to Earth in this new way. She supports women through all their creative processes, including art, writing, ceremony, and childbirth. With a decade-long background as a doula, Alexis finds that her work in birth has beautifully woven into her current practices as has transformed the way she sees her life, and the lives and experiences of her clients. All right, now that I stumbled through it, I am so excited to have you here, Alexis. The conversation we were just having before we hit the record button is it's beyond juicy to me. So let's talk.
Yes, let's jump in wherever you want to start. I'm ready.
Let's jump in. So give us a little bit of an insight about your journey, just so we know where you came from, how you got to where you are with all your background. Tell us.
Yeah, I love this question because it's, every day it changes, even though it's been the same story. It's like, where will I start today? So I feel like it's starting at the point where I had my first very, very big aha. And that started when I stepped into birth work. And I started to learn about different ways. First of all, before I stepped into birth work, I was so afraid of birth. And that's what drew me to it. I was like, okay, there's something here if I feel this level of fear. So I started to study birth, and it was in this one birth class where it felt like a bolt of lightning, where it was so clear, like, oh my gosh, this is where the creative power of women and the earth lies. And it was like emotional. It was like, oh my gosh. And it's been co-opted for all of this time. And my mission is to support women in reconnecting with their creative power. And so I stepped in to support the new beings that were coming onto the earth. So I felt very called in that moment by the Great Mother and by, I get very emotional thinking about this, by the new beings coming on to the planet. And it was on. I was like, this is it. And I stepped into that work really as a student of creativity and of consciousness. Like, okay, what is the new consciousness that is coming onto the planet? And what happens when a woman fully surrenders and opens to her power? And what happens, and also in relationship to the consciousness coming in, what happens to her and the consciousness coming in when she shuts down? So for 10 years, it was, supporting women and babies in that space, over 300 births. And alongside that, I also had a shamanic healing practice where I was working with artists and mothers to prepare, and just saw so much overlap. And I, at the time, I didn't consider myself a blocked artist, but I wasn't I didn't have a lot of endurance as an artist. I would do quick works, a poem here, a fast painting here. I would do it when the mood struck me. And through working alongside mothers who were doing whatever it took to bring their children through, I started to get hired for commissions that required greater detail and were longer projects. And I would notice that as I was painting, I was talking to myself like I would talk to a woman in labor. And the same things were arising for me that would arise for the women who were birthing their children. And so like, I think there's something here. And so I developed a process that is very much about incubating and developing a big creative vision and then birthing it out into the world with ease, joy, celebration, and power.
Wow. That is so amazing. So you were already an artist at a time.
Yeah.
You just weren't the artist to the degree that you knew you could be. Like, I love that you said, because I think there are a lot of women who will be listening to us, and they are familiar with the process of, oh, I'll just do something, a little something.
Yeah, totally.
Right? Yeah. Oh, that's so powerful. Okay. So now take us into, so you discovered that it takes the same kind of endurance. I love that you say that, because it takes endurance to create anything, and especially art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's a different, so, there's a lot of similarities, obviously, between birthing a baby and birthing a vision. And also, obviously, there's a lot of differences. And
Yeah.
so one of the biggest difference that I see, besides it's a human child and a body of work, is that, the longest a birth will be is a handful of days,
Wow. Yeah.
right?
Handful.
A handful of days. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, when you're birthing a creative vision, you guys, this could be a lifetime, right? So it requires this different level of fierceness and endurance and commitment and recommitment and recommitment and recommitment and adjusting and shifting and and support.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
That is so great, because the conversation we're having in the Sacred Success Salon is about living our purpose, right? And so often that conversation ends up in, there is this like, bam, and you're done, you're living your purpose, right? Magic pill, one big aha, and that's it, you're done. But even in your own story, I hear that you were an artist, and then you went through, you had a journey through learning about birth and assisting birth, and then coming back to art with this new knowing, this new awareness.
Absolutely.
I love that. Yeah, that's so powerful. So the reason why I wanted to have this conversation with you clearly is because of everything you said already, which is so powerful. And I truly believe that artists, creatives are the ones who are now here to usher the new earth, the new world we are creating, right? Like, everything else is falling apart. Everything that's been created is falling apart. We are creating a new earth. There is no, covering it up. And I truly believe that creatives, artists, innovators are the ones who are going to be the ones who usher it in.
Yeah.
And that's the work you do. So tell us more about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the language you're using. Yes, I agree 100%. Well, so some thoughts that are coming as you're sharing that is vision. Artists and healers, they're highly sensitive people. We're like shamans. We can see and feel into the world of the unseen. And we travel into that world of the unseen, and we bring it into the world of the seen. And that's what a mother in labor is doing too. She's like traveling into that spirit unseen world and coming back with her baby. And so this is what we're doing as healers and artists, is that we have this gift of vision. The artists are the ones that are seeing the new earth. There are visionaries, healers, and artists that are already living there and, open up to that frequency. And it's, we're creating pathways, showing, like, blazing new trails to lead other people into that higher frequency. And, I'm just thinking of visual artists, and what's coming through for me in my work now too is, we were talking about this before we hopped on, where it is codes, or they're energetic light codes that are coming through, that when I paint them, they're activating me. And when I show others, it activates others. There's sound frequencies, higher vibratory sound frequencies. I'll give an example of this. My husband's also an artist. And last night, So we went to Burning Man, actually back up a little bit. We went to Burning Man and we were asked to perform,
Mm-hmm.
and I stretched in my art in a way that was unexpected and like, holy moly. And so what's really common when you stretch that way is like to want to like hide, like, whoa, I just made myself so visible.
Yes.
Ooh. And so that was happening. And I have, thank goodness, this really amazing partner who was like, okay, what is the frequency that's going to keep you moving into that space so you don't shift into hiding?
Mm-hmm.
And we both started toning in this really high frequency sound, with this really high frequency sound that came through.
Mm-hmm. Did
For
you use
me,
your voice?
yeah, it's
Yeah.
very, very high. And we started doing it, and I went from being kind of in a funk
Mm-hmm.
to, we started both doing it, and we were like giggling and laughing so hard, and it just shifted us into joy.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just kept going, like, this gets to be joyful. So um the reason why I'm sharing that is like we're tuning into this. We're tuning into this, and it gets to be fun. It gets to be playful, and we get to step into the mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that piece is really important too.
Yeah. Talk about that.
Talk about
Step
that.
into mainstream. Yeah. What does it mean? Yeah.
Yeah. So healers and artists are really, can be really comfortable hanging out on the fringes and identifying with being really different, you know, and then we create these subcultures that, I get it, like, are very romantic and wonderful um, and beautiful, but we're being called forward to impact the planet in a greater way,
Mm-hmm.
which includes the mainstream. The mainstream is the stream, the masses of people that, um, we're here to support. It's not
Yeah.
about us just taking care of ourselves and like judging people. This is about connection, and that we all get to go together.
Mm-hmm.
There aren't
Yeah.
people who are special, you know, like, oh, they're over here. It's like, no, we're in this together.
Yeah.
So how can, I'm going to say this bluntly, how can you get over yourself
Yeah.
and get out of your way? And what ends up happening is, like, there might be old feelings of rejection that come up,
Mm-hmm.
judgment.
Mm-hmm.
There might be attack, like you feeling attacked, all of that stuff you get to face. So it ends up being a very, very intensely spiritual awakening for the one stepping into leadership as well.
Oh, I don't know if you saw me. I was wiping a tear because I am so moved by what you were sharing. I can feel the frequency, and I hope you guys watching and listening to Alexis are sensing the same thing. It's the invitation for, I'm going to use this word, the weirdos.
Yeah, freaks, come out.
To come out and come and be in the world. So I used to be a square, and I call myself a square, where I had to be proper, everything had to be proper. Like, I'm in a leadership training right now, and I was referred to as having a stick up my behind, because there is this frequency I'm here to embody that's only allowed to come out at certain times.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're sharing right now, it resonates so deeply. And I know that there are many of you watching that will resonate with this, that certain things are not appropriate. That if you wear certain things, like I shaved the sides of my head
Ooh,
recently,
I love it.
right? I'm like,
Yeah, girl.
this is me, like this is me being okay with not being a square, right? And I'm an artist that hides.
Mm-hmm.
And I totally resonate with what you're saying. And I'm so passionate about artists who claim they're not artists, but they're here to, I know, because as we said, like, I do hand analysis, and I tell people all the time, there are different kinds of artists, but so many of them come to see me, and I'm like, you're an artist. I don't know what kind of artist, but you're here to express yourself in a certain way, right? And bring that. I love how you just explained, where you step into certain frequency and then you want to hide. I know it's a very familiar feeling because I hear it from people all the time. They show up and then they want to withdraw and hide because it's scary for many reasons, right? Generational oppression. It wasn't okay for you, for your mother, for your father, for your culture, right? And all of that we get to clean out, and we get to show up and then step into the higher frequency and see what comes through, and then we get to bring it to other people. Oh, that is just such music to my ears, pun intended. And I love that. So talk about what we just mentioned about the frequency coming through.
Yeah.
This is how it's coming through this art. Talk more about that, because I want people to hear it as, if you don't do your work, this is how I want you guys to listen to this.
Yeah.
If you don't do what you are here to do, if you don't do your purpose, if you don't do your art, whatever it looks like, there is a portal that's not available. And now, Alexis, your turn.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I will add to that too is you will be unwell in some area, right? Whether it's emotionally, spiritually, like you're dimming your frequency, and it's like it kind of like closes in on yourself, and like on some level it's you're not as healthy as you can be, you know. And a lot of people are doing this to keep safe, but it is actually safer to be in your full power and in your full glory, right? So what I'll share is just you know, when I was sharing that story of like there was this big opening, and then afterwards it was like, whew, okay, I'm gonna step back. And I think that this is an important story to share, because what you were talking about, there's a lot of like generational fear about coming out of the spiritual closet for a lot of us.
Yep.
And so essentially, we were talking a little bit about this before we got on, that so I'm a shamanic practitioner, and I work with guides, and I've worked with spirit guides for a long time, very earth-based spirit guides. I work with the earth for a long time, for lifetimes. And what has been coming in over the last few years are these different light beings that they feel familiar, but it's the first time I'm directly collaborating and working with them in this life. And I create art with them, and I am guided. These bigger projects that I've been doing, I've been guided by these light beings, these new guides. And so I was called to channel them in front of, I don't know, over 100 or so people, using sound, which I've never done before, and a message from them coming through. And you guys, it felt very scary. I didn't know it was I was standing up in front of over 100 people. I didn't know what was gonna come out, and got some really incredible feedback, and people were having activations, releasing, their visions were getting clear, like confusion releasing. It was just like it was a really big activation. And immediately, like the next day, just got some really hard feedback from someone that I love, that it felt very much like an attack. And so anyway, it's like so there's this point of like, when you step into more power and you put yourself out there, there is that potential as well. And I don't say this to be like scary, but it's like, what are you like? It's like you do it no matter what.
Yeah. And that's how I'm hearing it, that, you know, we're not going to sugarcoat it. You're not sugarcoating it. Like it's not, and it's actually a recurring theme in these conversations, that, you know, it doesn't mean that everything will be great and perfect and everybody will love you and you'll have a ton of money.
Yeah.
There is work to be done on the other side of you stepping into your power and your purpose.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. And what got very clear, and I'm so grateful for, was like, oh my gosh, all right, I love this person, but and this is what we would talk about in birth a lot, when women were choosing alternative birthing styles, like birthing at home or birthing naturally, that if there were people in their life that would attack their desire to have a powerful experience, they were not invited into that space of power. It's like you hear, and this is really important to talk about too during the ascension process, which is, it's a birthing transformative process. So if you are identifying with going through your own ascension process, it's this very powerful and vulnerable time. And so to just really be aware of who you are letting into that inner space while you're going through this transformation and stepping into your power, because that the power you're stepping into is very, very attractive, very bright, and it's, you know, it's the space of learning how to protect as opposed to defend. It's really holding your power and seeing, really, really seeing who is around you.
Yeah. Protecting versus defending. Yeah. So is there ever a time in that process? Because we're talking tangibly people, right? So birth may, I mean, physical birth, you're not inviting somebody into the room. Okay, no problem. You can get through that, right? Potentially. Some people will hold it against you forever, but
That's true.
but when, right?
That's true.
But when you are birthing yourself, right? Because this is just like, it's appearing to me right now. You're birthing yourself as this new being. We don't know how long it's going to take. I mean, it could be 9 months, right? So is there a way that you guide people? Because a conversation that I'm hearing is like, how do I keep my sister away from me if she is somebody that I don't invite into the space? Do you have any insight for, okay.
For sure. So yeah, of course. So if it's something like that, and when I say the difference between protecting and defending, this is essential. So when you're protecting, being protective is you are willing to have your eyes open and really see what the intentions are of the people around you, and the courage and the bravery to stand your ground and use your voice.
Wow. Yeah.
From love. But it's like you're using your voice, and you're discerning, you're seeing what's going on, and you're trusting yourself, and you are making decisions around that. And listen, it might not be easy. There might be people in your life where when you open your eyes and you really see, you're like, I don't, as painful as this is, this might be the end of this form of our relationship.
Yeah.
And this is what we're seeing a lot. I talk to a lot of people where they're really shaken up, like these relationships are falling away and I don't know what's going on. And it's like, actually, no, it just means you are coming into alignment with who you really are. And it's just, you're not resonating at the same frequency anymore. And it's all good. Like, you don't have to make a story about it or a drama about it. It's like love, and you get to come into alignment, and you're going to attract the people who are resonating at that frequency. Like you and I are talking right now.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I love that. Thank you for sharing that, because I think it's really important. So many people still may not be aware of this distinction. Like, people may not have to be in your life, but your first steps are learn how to be in your power, how to use your voice, how to trust yourself in relating to the people who are trying to shut you down.
Yeah. And also there's transformation. There's the possibility for transformation that you also might be projecting onto them. And when you use your voice and you communicate, there is also the opportunity, if the other person is willing, to transform the relationship and have an even closer relationship with them.
Wow. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So,
yes.
And the defending is when we don't say anything and we put ourselves in situations that are really not to anyone's benefit, and you're not saying anything and you're shutting down and closing off. That's the defense, right? And it's like, how do you create transformation from that space within the relationship or within the world?
Right, exactly, within relationship or within the world. Yes, absolutely. And I also see a possibility that if you close yourself down that way, you're probably closing energy, inspiration coming through and helping you step into your purpose. And in case of your clients, being the artist that you're here to be, right? So I know you're working with clients in the Artist Ascension, which I love. It's such a great name. The Artist Ascension program, and you are helping artists come to their own. Yeah. Could you talk a little bit more about that? Like, who comes to you? Are these people who are already artists that are blocked, or they just discovered they may be artists? Who comes to you?
All of everything above, everything you just said. So I would say the common theme for folks who step into the Artist Ascension Academy are folks that they do a lot of things. Like they have a lot of creative practices. They might be healers, they're visionaries, and it's like they do all of these things and they're not sure which direction to go in.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we do in the Artist Ascension Academy is you start to heal and expand as a channel, and you start to see that all of these things they're all parts of one vision.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's opening up to expanding into the vision that is like pushing up from inside of you. And a lot of the times, the artists and healers, they don't even know what it is quite yet that they want to create. They just know that they are being nudged to up level into something new. And a lot of times they're not sure what it is they want to create, because what I was sharing, it's like a lot of different things are calling them.
Mm-hmm.
But there also might be a new art form that is wanting to be birthed through them.
Mm-hmm.
And it hasn't yet even existed yet.
Wow, at all.
At all. Like the frequency,
Wow.
it might be a merging of these different healing modalities and artworks coming through. So it's something that's never yet existed on the planet. And it's a vehicle, whatever the body of work is, it's a vehicle for transformation onto the planet.
That is so great, because tying back into what we started to talk about a couple subjects ago, and it's all one big subject anyway, art being the portal, right? And then coming through the artist.
Yeah.
Right? Coming through the artist. So can you speak a little bit more to that? Like,
Yeah.
so I think I cut you off before, and I didn't mean to, but the reason why we need to answer the calling of our purpose of the art coming through in whatever form it is.
Yeah, I mean, when I can speak from my experience and what I see with my clients is that you just won't feel fulfilled if you don't do it, right? That's the question that I ask folks on, like, what is the cost if you don't do it? And I would say that is the answer across the line, is I won't feel like I fulfilled my mission.
Yeah.
And so, like, if that is what you are experiencing, like your creative mission, for the folks who are watching this right now, your creative mission is being activated. And it can feel really confusing sometimes, because when it's activated, all of the stuff that has been keeping it dormant is like ignited, and it can get really, really confusing. So what we're doing on this call in the Artist Ascension Academy is getting very, very clear and connected to what is being activated through you. So as the artist, you are a portal, you are a channel for these higher frequencies that are flooding the planet right now. You are being called to be an anchor and a channel to these light codes, these frequencies that are coming onto the planet right now. And you get to do this through your sacred body of work. So you are creating structures. You are being called to create structures that channel and funnel these higher frequencies and instructions for birthing the new earth onto the planet.
I just got such chills. And that's why there is urgency, right? Around us stepping into the purpose, the creativity, the artistry that, and I attract a lot of creative people. Like I mentioned in hand analysis, right? There is a purpose that we're here to fulfill that's creative. And there are so many artists that are just, they're like, they became doctors, right? Like I just spent a bunch of time with a woman who is who's trained in fine art, and she's in sales. And she's now awakening up again to her gift and to her training. And there is this urgency, and I really truly believe it's because, like you just said, art, whether it's written, spoken, sang, painted, danced, it's the form through which these frequencies, they can come. They won't come through a mathematical equation or a pair of shoes.
Yeah.
Right? Or a new car. They'll come through this creative, expressive form. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, well, it's like we're bringing the dream into reality. So it's like we're accessing that dream space through the art. And then it's what you're talking about, that next level of the results and taking action to actually create it. And we, as artists, there's and this is what I would see in birth a lot. Like, so for a lot of female artists, there's this little spot between bringing it from the unseen into the scene that has been disrupted. And so this is like through our Ascension Academy and this kind of work, it's healing and reconnecting and clearing out where there's been a disruption between the world of the unseen and the seen. This is where a lot of the obstacles and blocks happen, right? Like you're going in a direction and then all of a sudden you get distracted or it feels too hard. And when you don't have support, then you're off doing another thing and you like kind of forgot what you were doing, you know?
Yeah. So tell me if this is, because I didn't ask you if this is okay, but I want to have this conversation. There is this ancient old conversation about artists and making money.
Yeah.
Right. And when you started talking about the obstacles, as soon as you started talking about it, I'm like, there are ways which we feel we will be attacked for our art, but more than anything, it's our safety and security that's threatened.
Totally.
Right. Yeah. And I know you've overcome that for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could you speak to that a little bit?
Oh, I just got the chills too. It's so interesting how this is coming through right now. Like,
Love it.
yeah, when you were saying that, because this is something that we talk about a lot too, is that, you know, so we're breaking the old paradigm of the struggling artist, right? So when I talk to people stepping into the academy, the number one objection is money. And if someone is willing to have a deeper conversation with me at that point, this is where the biggest breakthroughs happen, because it's like breaking this illusion. Like, how many times has money stopped you from creating what it is that you are here to create? It's like over and over and over again. And that's why some of those like subcultures get created, right? So this is about us breaking through into the mainstream and ushering wealth in the directions of consciousness and this new earth. So when you were sharing that, I was thinking, you know, this is what I would see in birth, that artists in a lot of ways, I'm just thinking about different like periods of art, that there, you know, artists, there was like certain patrons and I mean, this is kind of a big way to say it, but they were really enslaved in a lot of ways to paint and to create things that they were told to paint and create. And there's, you know, there's just something that we're busting out of, that we get to be leaders. We get to communicate without someone being on top of us or over us, what it is that we are really seeing.
Wow.
That we get to like step into being visionaries, and we get to understand that wealth is a guide. We get to open up our wealth channel because it also informs what it is that we're creating. So yes, there's some kind of connection that's happening right there where we're talking.
Yeah. Like, yes, I love that. And I love that you brought in the fact that artists, because like you said, there are like sponsors and mentors who can fund an artist, but then they come with instructions or rules or guidelines, and the artist still doesn't get to be freely expressed, which is a whole idea behind creativity, is that you have freedom.
Yep.
To create whatever needs to come through you. So not only, I love that, because not only are we talking about the starving artist, which means you can't make money with art, which it's definitely an old paradigm. There is this other layer, which I never actually had a conversation about with anybody before, where if you do accept money under certain conditions, you are still creating within a box. Yeah.
That was just coming through as we were sharing.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's like also what I want to say too, sometimes people, when they talk to me, they're like scared I'm going to tell them to like leave their job and like like live this bohemian lifestyle. Not at all. You know, like you get to, just like with a baby, you get to have the resources and live the life and nurture your art like you would a baby. Like it's, if you're feeling called in this way, it's like the most important thing that's knocking at your door right now, and you get to like really nurture it and invest in it.
Yeah. And in whatever way it looks like for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that, because I think that there are so many times when I do tell people you're here to be an artist, and a conversation comes to mind that I had with a man a while ago who is here to be super expressive in a very big way, and he's definitely one of those people who are here to open a huge portal. And he built a life where he's a supporter and provider, and he built a very elaborate life, very luxurious life. There are
Yeah,
people relying on him, and he just couldn't see how it could ever be possible for him to get into that place where he gets to express and be that portal for that energy. And he's not there yet, he can't see it, but there is a way where he could have both.
absolutely. I work
Yeah.
with a lot of people like that. I work with I had this one fellow who's a CEO of money management. Like he does a very, mainstream job, and he's
Mm-hmm.
so immersed in this work, and
Mm-hmm.
things are shifting for him on such an incredible level. So it's, you may or may not make money doing the art, and this is about you fulfilling your calling, and you get to be abundant while
Yeah.
you do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I found is that when you do fulfill your calling, if you're called to do to be expressed creatively, whatever else you are doing steps up to meet you, to support you in whatever it is you need. So whether it's abundance in time or flexibility, or abundance in finances, so you can have things handled for you, like that changes.
Totally. And it's that
Yeah.
higher the portal you're opening up as a portal for higher frequencies through
Hmm.
your art. So yeah, everything else also up levels. So if you do other work, let's say you have a corporate job, you're going to start seeing things more creatively. You're going to be more valuable in that company because you're seeing things, you're catching things, you're innovating. It all, yeah, it all meets you. It all up
Yeah.
levels.
Oh, I love that. That is so great. That is so great, because I think it's going to serve a lot of people who are listening right now who maybe aren't ready to jump into full blown selling their art.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, or singing on stages. That's amazing. So Alexis, oh, this is so amazing, and I'm so grateful, and I just want to keep having this conversation with you. Is there anything you want to share before we get into your gift, and that you're so generously sharing with us? Anything else that wants to come through at this moment?
No, the time is now. The earth is calling. If you are watching this, you know that there is a body of work inside of you that is ready to come out, and we are here for you to talk about this with.
Mhm.
And yeah, go for it. So whatever actionable step you can take now, today, in the next 24 hours, we are
Mhm.
holding space for you to do that.
Oh, that's so generous of you to say, because you're right. This whole conversation has been an activation. There
Hmm.
is space to take action. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that. That's so beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I trust that you guys watching, if you feel it in your body right now and you feel it in your heart, you'll do something. And one of those actions you can take is right below this video, there is a button. And when you press it, you will get to Alex's free gift for you. And Alexis, can you share with us what's waiting behind the button?
Yes, what's waiting behind door number one. It's a creative growth mapping session.
Mhm.
So this is a 30-minute call with myself or someone on my team where we will support you in getting crystal clear on your creative vision, like 100% clear on what it is that you are being called to create. And we will talk about and address the obstacles that are getting in the way, and we will come up with those actionable steps
Mhm.
to bring you in the direction of your creative
Mhm.
vision and dreams.
Oh, I love that. That's so beautiful and so generous. So you guys, if you feel called to it, and if you're here, you are called.
Yeah.
Go behind the button, claim this conversation with Alexis or one of her team members, because it's just so powerful. And I'm so grateful that you are here with us having this conversation and bringing an awareness of this like time is now. Time is now. And if you're called, you have to take action. So Alexis, before we part ways, I have one question that I like to ask every guest.
Fun.
What does success for the world look like?
Love.
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 Mm.
Operate.
Wow.
Yeah, just a higher frequency of love, of being lit up, of feeling comfortable in your skin, easeful connection and people creating and living their purpose.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful and powerful. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, that was great. Thank you. And you guys, make sure you claim the gift, connect with Alexis, get into her world. If you're here, you're creative and you're an artist, because that's who comes into Sacred Success Salon. That's just what happens. So make sure you connect with Alexis. Alexis, thank you again so much for being the messenger and the work that you do in the world. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Bye, guys.
Pleasure. Bye. See you at the next interview.